Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Always.
This time, we're taking a look at Robert Collier's The Secret of the Ages.
A classic.
Definitely. But we're not going for the whole thing, just the foreword in Chapter 1 this time.
Oh, interesting. Focusing on a specific section.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to unpack just in these first parts, before diving into the whole system he lays out.
I can see that.
Especially because, well, you know how a lot of self-help stuff is about getting rich quick?
Right.
This one's, well, it's a bit different. Collier's talking about this life principle, and it's more about, I don't know, unlocking potential, I guess you could say, not just financially either.
Okay. More holistic.
Exactly. And get this, he connects this principle to everything, like from algae to dinosaurs.
Yeah, that's a range.
He even uses it to explain how empires rise and fall. I mean, it's pretty ambitious.
Sounds like it.
And then there's this other thing that really caught my eye. His idea about philanthropy.
Oh, yeah. What's his take?
Well, instead of funding libraries or hospitals, he wanted to build homes specifically for newlyweds.
Homes for newlyweds. That's unusual.
Right. It's so specific.
Yeah, you don't hear about that every day. It definitely makes you curious about his reasoning.
I know. Why newlyweds? What was he thinking?
Well, it seems Collier believed that this was a crucial time for couples. That tricky second year of marriage.
Oh, I've heard about that, the dreaded second year.
Yeah. Collier thought this was when many couples really struggle. They're not quite established, facing all these new challenges, and they often fall through the cracks, he argued.
Fall through the cracks? How so?
Well, they're not poor enough to qualify for a lot of charitable aid, but they're also not wealthy enough to afford all the support they might need, like childcare or counseling.
Stuck in the middle.
Exactly. And Collier saw that as a major gap that needed addressing. He felt society focuses on the extremes, but that middle ground often gets overlooked.
That's a really good point. It makes you think about those who are striving to build a solid foundation, but just need a little extra help along the way.
Absolutely. And this is where, he argued, that life principle comes in. Understanding it, he thought, was like finding a key to unlock potential, not just for individuals, but for society as a whole.
Okay, so we have this mysterious life principle that can supposedly help us overcome challenges and reach our full potential, but what is it exactly?
It's the force, that fundamental energy behind all life, the thing that makes us adapt, evolve, push forward.
Okay, I think I get that, but how does that actually work? In real life, I mean.
Think about exercise. When you lift weights, you're stressing your muscles, right? That stress, it's a challenge. And your body responds, it has to, by getting stronger.
So basically, what doesn't kill you?
Makes you stronger.
Yeah.
That's the life principle in action, responding to demands, pushing for growth. And it's not just physical, he said. This applies to everything.
So it's not just hoping for the best. You've got to actively engage with it, this principle, to see results.
Exactly. It's about actively engaging with that force for growth.
Right.
He used this to explain, get this, the very origins of life itself.
Wait, what? How does that even work?
Well, he argued that whether life began with algae or amoebas, the specific form wasn't the point. The point was this inherent drive to exist, this life principle pushing everything forward.
That's a pretty big leap, going from weightlifting to, the Big Bang. But I kind of see what he's getting at. So if I'm following, the main idea here is that growth is the whole point.
You got it. Growth is the point. Anything that stops growing, it starts to decay.
That's true. And I bet a lot of us are, stagnant in some areas of our lives. I know I am.
Well, that's the kind of self-reflection he was aiming for. And here's the kicker. He didn't think this life principle was some distant force. He said it's inside each of us.
Inside of us, like an inner strength sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This inner power that we can actually tap into consciously, he said.
Hold on. Consciously tap into it. How do we do that? That sounds a bit, I don't know, mystical.
Think of it like an athlete's second wind. That burst of energy when they think they've hit their limit. We all have that, he argued. That reserve of energy waiting to be accessed.
Okay, but I still have to ask. Have you ever felt this life principle at work in your own life? Really felt it?
I think so, yeah. Think back to a time you overcame something really tough. A challenge you thought you couldn't handle.
I can think of a few.
Didn't you feel this surge of energy? Determination you didn't know you had?
Yeah, actually. There are definitely a few times like that.
Maybe that was it. Maybe that was the life principle working its magic. That hidden strength we all have.
It's pretty empowering when you think about it that way.
It is. And this brings us to one of Collier's most interesting ideas. Obstacles aren't actually setbacks. They're opportunities.
Opportunities.
For what?
Opportunities for growth. He saw them as fuel, these challenges, for this life principle to really show itself. That's kind of like, what is it, the saying about pressure creating diamonds or something?
Right. Pressure creates diamonds. That's a perfect way to put it. Obstacles, they refine us. And this goes back to philanthropy, too. Remember his idea about the homes for newlyweds?
Yeah, those homes. But how does that connect to obstacles?
Think about the challenges those couples are facing. Learning to live together, finances, maybe starting a family. It's a time when they need that life principle, that resilience the most.
So he was providing them with more than just a physical home. He was trying to create an environment where they could tap into this life principle and build something strong.
Exactly. It's a practical application of his philosophy, supporting people during those difficult times so they can thrive.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. We've gone from weightlifting to the origins of life to homes for newlyweds, all thanks to this life principle. It's like he found a connection between everything. What else did he have to say about how this life principle shows up in our lives?
Well, he goes on to explore how this principle shows up in creativity, in health, even in history, the rise and fall of entire civilizations.
Well, hold on. We need to unpack all of that, but let's take a quick pause first just to let this all sink in. Back in a flash to continue this deep dive into the secret of the ages.
Okay, we're back. And I'm still thinking about this life principle.
Yeah, that's a lot to take in.
Right. Before the break, you were about to tell me how Collier saw this life principle playing out in areas like creativity, health, and even history.
Right. Collier believed this principle is like a universal key. It unlocks potential in every area of human experience. Like he saw it as the driving force behind creativity, for example.
So you're saying anyone can be creative if they tap into this life principle?
Well, yeah, that's what he argued. He saw creativity as an expression of this force, this inherent drive for growth and evolution. Every invention, every work of art, even a groundbreaking business idea, it's this life principle, seeking new ways to express itself. Okay, so instead of saying I'm not creative, I should be asking myself, how can I tap into this creative potential within me?
Exactly. And this applies to societies too, he said. He saw this life principle in the rise and fall of civilizations.
Civilizations? Hold on, how can this life principle apply to something that big and complex?
Think of a civilization as a living organism. It has to adapt, it has to evolve to survive. When a civilization embraces this principle, fostering innovation, creativity, a willingness to change, it flourishes.
I see, like it's a healthy organism.
Right. But when a society becomes rigid, stagnant, resistant to new ideas, it eventually declines.
Wow, I never thought about it like that before. It's like history is one giant laboratory where we can see this life principle playing out. What are some examples?
Well, look at the Roman Empire. At its peak, a beacon of innovation, engineering, law, art. But as it grew more bureaucratic, resistant to change, it crumbled.
That's a sobering thought. Makes you wonder about our own society today, right?
It does, doesn't it? Are we embracing this life principle, or are we on the path to stagnation?
That's a good question. But let's zoom back in from civilizations to something a little more, personal. You mentioned health and well-being. How did Collier connect those to the life principle?
He believed true health wasn't just about avoiding disease. It was about a dynamic state of balance, vitality, adapting to change.
So it's not just eating your veggies and hitting the gym.
There's more to it than that, he'd say. He believed we could take a more proactive approach to our health, supporting our natural healing, cultivating a deeper sense of well-being.
It's like that saying, your body is a temple. But instead of just maintaining the structure, you're actively nurturing its growth and resilience.
Exactly. And just like with creativity and civilizations, obstacles in health were opportunities.
Opportunities? You mean even when we're sick, there's still potential for growth?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He shared stories of people who overcame incredible health challenges. They tapped into that inner strength, that belief in their body's ability to heal.
It's almost like a mindset shift, isn't it? Aligning yourself with this life principle and trusting your body's ability to overcome and thrive.
Right. And it's incredibly empowering.
It really is. So we've explored how this life principle applies to creativity, health, history. It's making me see the world in a whole new light.
And that's what Collier wanted. He believed understanding this principle could empower us to be more conscious creators of our own destiny, individually and collectively.
Okay, I'm with you so far. But I'm still a little fuzzy on the how-to. How do we actually put this into practice? How do we tap into this inner power, this life principle?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. And as one Collier tackles head-on. But he doesn't offer a one-size-fits-all answer. He believes in offering different perspectives, different practices for cultivating this principle.
So it's more about finding what works for you, not following a strict formula.
Right. It's a very individualized approach. But one thing he stressed was the importance of mindset, believing in your potential, embracing challenges as opportunities.
Okay, I can see how that's important, but I'm still eager to hear about those specific practices he suggested. Did he offer any tools, any techniques for actually tapping into this life principle?
He did, and I think you'll find them surprisingly practical and relatable. But before we jump into that, let's take a moment to reflect. This life principle, it's a lot to digest. We'll come back in just a bit to continue our deep dive into the secret of the ages and explore those techniques.
Okay, we're back. And my head is spinning with all these ideas about the life principle.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
You mentioned that Collier offered some practical ways to actually use this life principle to tap into that power. What are some of those?
Well, one of the big things he talked about was visualization.
Visualization, huh? Like making vision boards and stuff.
That's one way to do it. But Collier went deeper. He believed that by vividly imagining your goals, you actually tap into this life principle, drawing those outcomes closer.
So it's more than just like daydreaming.
Exactly. He saw imagination as a tool, a powerful one.
I've heard about athletes using visualization, picturing their success, but I never connected it to this life principle idea before.
It's all connected. Our imagination is a creative force, and that ties right into the life principle, which is all about growth, creation.
Okay, so visualization is one way. What else did Collier recommend?
Gratitude. He was a big believer in the power of gratitude. Focusing on what you're thankful for, he said, shifts your energy towards abundance.
That makes sense. When you're feeling grateful, it's hard to be negative or feel stuck.
Right. Gratitude opens you up to receiving more good things. And that's key because remember, the life principle is all about growth and expansion.
I'm getting that. So visualization and gratitude. Anything else?
He also emphasized taking action. It's not enough to just visualize and be grateful. You have to take steps towards your goals.
So it's about aligning your thoughts, feelings, and actions, all pointed in the same direction.
Exactly. Vision, gratitude, action. It's about being a conscious creator, not just letting life happen to you.
I like that. A conscious creator. This has been an incredible deep dive. I feel like I have a whole new set of tools to work with now. What's one last thought you'd leave our listeners with?
Remember this. You are not a victim of circumstance. You have the power to shape your own destiny. Tap into this life principle. Embrace the practices and watch your life transform.
That's a powerful message. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the secret of the ages. I hope everyone listening is feeling as inspired as I am. And if this sparked your curiosity, definitely check out Robert Collier's book. It's full of wisdom that can help you on your own journey. Until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep believing in your own extraordinary power.